few more months pass by, and then my sister comes to spend the night, and she sees it. And she's flipping out. She describes it to me. I said, well, yeah, I call it Charles. She went, huh? I said, I just call it Charles. I don't know what it is. It don't bother me. I'm not going to bother it.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal Podcast. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you all for joining us, and special thank you goes out to all of you who continue to support the podcast and continue to spread the word. Always remember, if any of you out there have experiences of your own that you'd like to share, feel free to email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Again, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, and you too could be a guest on the show. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal Podcast. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you all for joining us. Hope you're having a wonderful day and week, whatever's going on in your world. And thank you so much for the continued love and support that you guys continue to show us here on the portal. So I've got a phenomenal show lined up today, folks. We are joined by Caysee from Virginia, who's going to talk about the incredible experiences that she's experienced throughout the course of her life. So hope you all are ready. It's going to get good. Hey, Caysee, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And you emailed me, and there was an incredible amount of experiences, but it's been a hell of a journey, huh?
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy for my 20 years of living.
Oh, well, that's all right. I mean, yeah, it's a lot for anybody to take in, but do you think you can start out maybe by telling us, where did all this start for you?
Probably when I was 7 or 8.
Okay.
My dad's a truck driver, so during the summer he would take me to wherever he went. We'd stay gone maybe 2 or 3 days, but that's about the longest. Mm-hmm. So he took me either to South Carolina or Arkansas or Kansas, what people call it. Mm-hmm. And we were leaving out. It was probably 10 o'clock at night. We were driving down the road. He was listening to Coast to Coast, like he always does.
Good show.
And we were quiet. We weren't talking or nothing. It was just us on the highway. I think it was 77 maybe, mm-hmm. or one of those. We were just riding, and it was quiet. And then I looked over out the passenger window, and there is a man. Okay, he was laying on the ground, and he was dead.
Oof.
And so as we drove past, I looked back, and he was gone. And I can still describe this man like it was yesterday. Mm. He was wearing a blue plaid shirt, had like strawberry blonde hair with a comb over, and he had blue jeans on, and it was gory. He was covered in blood. His whole head was like it got ran over. The whole side of his face was smushed in.
Oh, my God.
His whole side of his face was like caved in, like he got ran over, and he was just staring at me, and then he was gone.
Wow. How fast do you suppose you were going? Was that just highway speed there?
Yeah, about 60. And when you're in an 18-wheeler, I mean, you can see pretty good back.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Was it daytime or nighttime?
It was nighttime. It was probably around 10, 11. It was not too late, but late enough.
Wow. Oh. And how old were you about this time?
I was about 7 or 8.
Yeah, that's really young. That's a horrible memory to have to take with you, huh?
Yeah, it's. I remember every once in a while, and I'm like, wow, what if that was just my mind playing tricks on me, or was it real? Right.
Wow. So did you tell your dad at that time? Look, I just saw this, or?
I did. He believes in ghosts, so he heard it, but he was like, oh, okay. And he kind of brushed it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He didn't really pay attention to it.
Oh, okay. So was it just a one-time event like that, or did you continue to see that apparition ever, or was it just that once?
It was just that one time. He was looking at me, and he was so sad, and he had help in his look, like he needed help.
Mm. Yeah, that's tough.
I didn't ever see him again.
Huh. Okay. And that was it for this whole trip, this whole journey. You had that one sighting, huh?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, so what happens next then?
When we got back, maybe like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years later, maybe not that long, but we didn't buy it, but we rented a home from my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't live there anymore because her late boyfriend killed himself in the building.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah, so the house sits directly across the building, and it's a sliding glass door. So one night, me and my friend are playing Barbies in front of the glass door, and we happened to look, and it was nighttime. It was probably 9 or 10 also.
Mm-hmm.
We were looking in the window, and there's red glowing eyes looking at us in the window.
Oh, man.
We kind of brushed it off, and we were like, it's probably just a glare from something in here. We didn't really pay attention to it, and then maybe around 10 minutes later, it's behind the building. It's a black figure standing behind the building.
Still outside?
It became outside. It was inside looking through the window at us, out of the building.
Oh, okay.
And then about 10 minutes later, it was outside of the building behind it.
Oh, no.
And we got scared. You know, we hid on the covers like children do. And we just fell asleep. Never seen anything of it the next day or years later. It was just there that night.
Okay.
And then probably around 2013-14, my dad got, he was hauling metal. That's what he used to haul.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy kept sticking the forklift under the metal, and he yelled at him, and he said, hey, I'm getting the last strap off. Let me get the strap off, and then you can get the metal. Well, the guy didn't listen, and he ended up falling off the truck and shattered his heel. And the metal came down and almost cut his head off and everything. So he got a settlement, and we were looking everywhere for a house. We needed a house. He got a small settlement. We wanted something nice, but something away from everyone. So we found a house. It had a zip line, and it had a playhouse. It was a great house, so we got it, and we moved in here in the summer of 2014.
Okay.
And that's when everything went crazy.
Oh, okay.
The house is a double wide. The porch takes up the whole side of the house, so it's a long porch. And it's surrounded by woods. It's just nothing but in the middle of the woods, of acres of woods. It has old logging trails behind it, and it's just creepy woods, but it's pretty.
Okay.
So when we moved up here, we decided to go investigating, looking around what we could find on the property or anything. We found an old deer stand, but we found rocks. We found a rock formation, but they're like a pyramid.
Wow. Okay.
So all over the land, there's a bunch of rocks placed like a pyramid. And we were like, oh, that's cool. It's probably been here a while. So after about a year we lived here, when you walk in the door of the house, you can see the hall closet. So one night I saw a man go from the door to the hall closet.
How would you describe this man?
It was see-through, but you can tell it was a man because it had kind of the men's cut and the broad shoulders. But it was about 6'3", maybe.
Okay.
It was pretty tall. So it wouldn't run, it wouldn't walk, it would like float really fast from the door to the hall closet.
Okay.
I seen it and I was like, it kind of scared me, but I kind of brushed it off. So a few months down the road, I seen it again. Well, a few more months passed by, and then my sister comes to spend the night, and she sees it. And she's flipping out. She describes it to me. I said, well, yeah, I call it Charles. She went, huh? I said, I just call it Charles. I don't know what it is. It don't bother me. I'm not going to bother it.
Wow. Was it always seen in the same place, or was it seen?
Yeah, it would always run at night. It'd always be at night.
Okay.
One time during the day, I caught it in like the reflection of the TV.
Okay.
But it always would just float really fast across the door to the hall closet, and I would never see it again.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I kind of just brushed it off. I didn't want nothing to do with it. It didn't bother me. I'm not going to bother it. A loud knock came on my door, and a man said, hey, I need to use the bathroom. It sounded exactly like my brother, but he was asleep. He never got up. So I always like to go walking in the woods. This is my other experience. I like walking in the woods. I always brought my dogs with me. There's a part when you walk kind of far back in the woods. It's not a field, but it's flat, and it's got a bunch of trees a little bit.
Okay.
While I was walking, there's a black figure. It looks like a leprechaun, but it's not a leprechaun. It had a top hat and a long trench coat, and I would see it kind of peeking from behind the trees around me. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? My mind's playing tricks on me. I'm not even, I'm just being dumb right now. So the farther I walked into the woods, the closer it got to me. Mm. So every time I'd go a little farther in the woods, it would step a little bit closer. And to the point where it started going around me in a circle.
Oh, okay.
So I took off running to the house. I've never went back in those woods. I have nothing good to say about those woods, so I don't want nothing to do with it.
Well, I'm curious about the figure. Did you get the impression that it was physical, or did it seem to be more spiritual? Did you have a feeling?
It was both.
Okay.
You could tell it had shoulders, and it was a person, but it was see-through.
But it was also very small?
The one in the woods or the one in the hall?
No, the one in the woods, because those sound like two very different.
The one in the woods was completely black.
But short, or?
Yeah, it was kind of short. It was probably only maybe like 5'11". 4'11".
4'11", so just about 5 feet tall. Okay.
Yeah.
But the top hat thing is odd. But the reason that I'm asking is because I'm trying to understand if it was perhaps some form of little person, or do you think it was an apparition? Could you hear it walking around when you weren't seeing it, or when you were, or was it soundless?
No, I couldn't hear it walking at all. All I could see was it in the corner of my eye, and then when I looked, it would kind of duck back behind the tree.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it does sound like maybe, and not exclusively, but maybe it was something spiritual as well then, right?
Yeah, it was scary. I felt nothing but complete terror that night. Okay. Well, that day.
Yeah, that's creepy. The other reason I was asking, of course, is with the fae, or the fairies legendarily would try to lure people into the woods to get them hopelessly lost. And certainly the further you went, the closer it was getting, until it was finally doing circles around you. Does sound like something to that effect, but maybe not. You know what I mean?
Because now that you say that, when I was walking in the woods, I know my way back to my home.
Okay.
It'll take me 5 minutes, not even that, to get back. I'll come back, and it took me an hour and a half
to just walk that
to get
path.
back.
Wow.
To walk back to my house.
Yeah, maybe.
When it should have took me 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's incredible. And of course, even in the Americas, a lot of people hear fae and fairies, and they think that, well, that's something over in Europe. But the First Nations had legends very similar to that right here in the Americas. So I think it's more of a global phenomenon, really, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, that was probably one of the scariest things I've ever experienced.
Yeah, well, good thing you made it home. That's the big thing.
Yeah, good thing I ran. Right.
That sounds like it was a heck of a run, though. Wow.
Yeah, and I got asthma, too, so it did not do good with me.
No, I suppose not. Yeah, I might have been able to speed walk home, and that's about it. But very crazy. So what age was this when you saw the little figure in the woods and seeing the man in the hallway?
The man in the hallway came about a year after we moved up here. So we moved up here in like 2014. So it was probably 15. So I was probably 13 or 14.
Okay. I gotcha. All right. And then the man in the woods is the same era then, yeah?
Yeah, it was around that time too.
Okay. So you stay out of the woods. You got somebody running around your hallways. And what else is going on?
This was when I was probably 15 or 16.
Okay.
I was in the bathroom, and I was so sad. I was crying, and I was completely distraught. I couldn't stop crying. I tried to stop crying. I couldn't. Well, a loud knock. It was 3 knocks. A loud knock came on my door, and a man said, "Hey, I need to use the bathroom." And I thought it sounded exactly like my brother. So I said, "Oh, okay, Chris, I'll be out in a minute." So I, try to make it look like I'm not crying. And so I walk out of the bathroom, and nobody's standing there. So I come in the living room. He was spending the night. So I came in the living room, and I went to shake him and to tell him, "Hey, you can use the bathroom now." But he was asleep. He never got up. I asked him about it in the morning. He said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I've been asleep the whole night because I have to go to work."
Wow.
And what's weird is after that happened, I never cried again.
Did you get the feeling?
I didn't feel the need to cry.
Right. Did you get the feeling that the sorrow, the anguish or whatever came to you? Like it wasn't yours to experience, but you experienced it. Was that what your takeaway was?
Yeah, like I was so sad, and then when someone said something to me through the door of the bathroom, I didn't feel sad.
Because it sounds like, and I wonder about this, if it was a psychic impression or whatever. And the idea is that as we live our lives and experience our lives and, in both the good, the bad, the otherwise, it can, there's theories that it may actually permeate the areas that we are, like our homes and such. And so maybe you just found a pocket of that sadness for whatever reason, and perhaps you have a bit of sensitivity. And so, it took you over, in a sense, just the experience of that sadness. And that's why you felt such pain and sorrow.
Yeah. See, after we moved here, about 2 years after, our family, we would go like camping or we would go to the beach. We always bickered like normal family does. But when we moved up here, we did not stop. We fought, not literally, but we argued all the time. And it got to the point where we couldn't sleep. We all of us would stay up all night and sleep all day. Physically, we could not go to bed.
Wow.
And we just argued all day and all night about little things like, why didn't you put the toilet paper right? Or,
yeah.
Who didn't get the food out of the microwave? Like just little things.
Yeah, that's strange. And certainly there are houses that people report that in. In a lot of hauntings, one of the classic things is people move in, starts out fine, and then things just keep getting darker and worse, and people literally change. But when they finally eventually move away, it's like they come out of it as if they were under this, for lack of a better word, like an oppression, Right. Wow. Okay.
Another thing was, my friend always spent the night. She always stayed every weekend. We'd always do things. So she always was a sleep talker.
Oh.
So she'd say the most randomest things in her sleep, and I'd laugh about it. So when we were about 16, she sat up like a vampire in a coffin with her arms crossed in my bed at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yikes.
And started screaming.
Oh, wow.
And I was laughing. I was like, "What are you doing?" And she's looking, she's shaking her head so fast. She's looking at me and looking at the corner of my room, and she's screaming. And she said, "You don't see that?"
Oh,
I
wow.
said, "See what?" She said, "You don't see that in the corner of your room." I said, "I don't see anything." And then she just completely shut up and then crossed her arms over her chest again and laid back down.
Oh, wow. That's creepy.
Yeah, I asked her about it the next day, and she don't remember it. She said she never did that, and it was scary to me because, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and she's doing this.
Wow. So, again, 3 o'clock, yeah, that's another classic sign of paranormal activity is, according to paranormal investigators, 3 to 4 a.m. is the witching hour for them. It's when the activity is the highest during investigations, and it certainly comes up in a lot of different paranormal accounts too. Many people dealing with extreme paranormal activity, the worst time of the day is 3 a.m. They wake up out of dead sleeps and feel horrible and have horrible experiences. A very close, dear friend of mine had experiences like that. And every day while these experiences were happening, 3 o'clock out of a dead sleep, boom, wide awake. And then all hell would break loose in the house. It was really incredible. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I never had trouble sleeping until we moved up here. And then around 2 to like 4 o'clock every morning, I would sleepwalk. I would walk to the kitchen and drink milk and then go back to sleep. I've never sleepwalked in my life, and I do it every day.
Wow.
Between those hours, ever since we moved here.
Did you ever find out if there was a history to the area the house or the land where you moved?
No, because the house wasn't here until maybe not that long, maybe 5 years before we moved here. Okay. It was just completely woods. And then a couple bought the land, cleared it, put a house on it, and then they wanted to move. I should have took the hint because they were really in a rush to move. Yeah. But when we bought the house, I asked the realtor, I said, did anyone die here? And my dad said, shh, you don't ask that. And he looked at him and said, no, it's okay. We get asked this question every day. But no one has died in this house.
Okay. Huh. Well, that's the thing.
But it has to have history.
Right. Well, the thing is that, the house itself may not, but the land certainly has been there forever. So who knows what used to exist on that piece of property. Could have been many things that since, had worn away to nothing and may not leave much of a trace. But, or whatever. I mean, even the First Nations had areas that they knew that they don't want to go into, which, unfortunately, in our Western ideas, we often ignored those things in our history. It's like, well, it's a good view. Let's put a house here, or whatever.
Yeah, but you never know what's actually on it.
Right. And it may have been a dark place for, forever, and it just draws dark things. So, yeah, that's very curious, but it sounds like there was a lot of activity there.
Yeah, the land has more logging trails than I've seen anywhere else.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, there's a bunch.
Yeah, so who knows what was there before that house was ever even thought of. So it could have had, hundreds of years of history that you don't know about. Right.
And especially in Virginia when the first, colony came.
Right, yeah, yep. Wasn't that on Roanoke?
I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure it's Roanoke.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of intrigue over those first settlers and stuff, but yeah, that's the oldest parts of the Americas was right there. So God only knows what's happened in that area and land since then. And sometimes it doesn't have a history that you can trace. Like some places, as I mentioned before, just have a bad energy. Some places just maybe are portals or maybe ley lines draw activity there. Who knows? Or it could be the people. It could be you guys. But
yeah, it could be.
it seems to have found you throughout your life. So that's really intense.
I don't know if it's a man, woman. It was a human.
Okay.
And its whole back and the whole arms were covered in hair. And its face was covered in hair. All I could see was its body. The most scariest one, I saved the best for last.
Yeah, by all means.
But the most scariest is what I can't describe it.
Okay.
So one night, my father comes running in the house. He's a big man. Mm-hmm. He's about 6'1", and he weighs like almost 400 pounds. He's a big man.
Wow.
But he runs like Usain Bolt. He can run.
Oh, wow.
So he's running in the house. We heard a loud noise on the porch. So he's running in sweat. He shuts the door behind him, and he's just white. he has no color to him. And we asked him, we're like, what's wrong with you? And he says something was in the woods. It was like 9 feet tall. It had red eyes. It was way above the trees. He said, this thing chased me through the woods. He said it chased me. And he fell so hard on the porch because he tripped over the dogs that he had to get x-rays on his pelvis and everything.
Oh, man.
So our dogs are not scared of anything.
Okay.
They do not care. But this thing terrified them. They ran in the house, ran under the beds. Their hair was sticking up. They're shaking, everything. I've never seen my dogs act like that.
Oh, wow.
So we laugh at them. We brush it off. We're like, you're dumb. You've seen a bear. You know, there's nothing out there. And he says, no, I'm telling you guys, there's something out there. But we never believe him because he's a prankster. So he likes to do pranks a lot. So we were like, whatever. There's nothing out there. You're stupid. You're crazy. And exactly 1 month later, the dogs are barking on the porch. And like I said, our porch is long. It's real long, and if you just peek your head kind of out the window of the porch, you can see, like, straight down the porch and where the driveway is. You can see everything. So the dogs are going off, and I peek my head out, and there's something crawling up the porch. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a bear. Well, the thing is not a bear. Okay, the thing is not a bear. It's a human. It has fingers. It has feet. It's a human. But it's covered in hair like a dog.
Oh.
So it's crawling up our porch, but the scariest part was its hands was like behind its head. The left arm was on the right side of its head, and the right arm was on the left side of its head. It was it was crawling up like a contortionist up our porch.
Oh.
Something came over me. I felt no fear. I was like, I'm going to go see what this is.
Ooh.
So I tell my dad to grab the light. We have one of the mag lights. So I tell him to grab the light. I throw the door open. The thing takes off. I take off with it. Well, it's a good probably like 10, 12 feet to the end of our porch. So I chase it all the way to the end of the porch, and then something like kind of hits me, and I feel like stopping.
Okay.
So I stop, and about 30 feet away from me, we have a building, and this thing is probably, I don't know, 5'8", and it's standing behind the building, and it is staring at me, and its eyes are just red. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. And then it cocked its head to the side, like it just dropped its head to the side. And it was staring at me, and we were sitting here for a good 30 seconds just staring at each other. And then my dad throws the door open because he finally found the light, and I'm still staring at this thing, and it just disappears. You don't hear a leaf crunch. You don't hear a tree branch break. Nothing. It just disappears.
Did it have clothing on? When you say it was a man, how do you say it's a man? Just by the way its proportions, or did it have clothing, or what makes you say it was a man?
This thing was just, I don't know if it's a man, woman. It was a human, and its whole back and the whole arms were covered in hair. And its face was covered in hair. I couldn't see its face that good. That's why I kind of wanted my dad to get the light.
Right. Okay.
All I could see was its body.
But there was not clothes on it, was there?
No, it was just
hair. Okay.
A human with hair.
Wow. Or humanoid. Okay. Did it look like it had, hands like we have hands and feet like we have feet?
Yeah, it had 10 toes, 10 fingers. It was a human.
Okay. Well, it's a curious description, because I'm thinking, well, 5'8" is certainly small by most cryptid standards. When you're thinking of 8, 9, 10 feet for an adult, but there are younger versions, and it could be something like that. But could it have been something else? But you're saying it had hair on it. So the hair sounds very Bigfoot / Dogman-y, but you didn't notice any like canine face or snout or ears or anything. And you're seeing something that's sounds much smaller than Bigfoot or skunk apes or whatever. So it's a unique description, but my head's kind of reeling. Is it because if it weren't for the hair, it would sound like you saw like one of those white crawlers, they call them, or rakes, ghouls, that kind of thing. But it had hair, so it's kind of an unusual description.
Yeah, it terrified me to the point I couldn't sleep for days.
Oh, yeah.
And it happened every month, it felt like. So the next month after that, something's in the woods screaming. It's not a coyote. I know what a coyote sounds like. It's not a wolf. It's not a dog. Mm-hmm. It's something like a child mixed with like a dog kind of, but it's a child screaming.
Okay. Wow.
And I didn't want nothing to do with that. I didn't go outside. I've done established I do not go in the woods.
Right.
I didn't go outside. So it became wintertime finally, and we could get really bad snow to the point we can't leave for weeks. So during that time it snowed, we were in the house, building a fire, whatever. Mm-hmm. So my mom opened her window, and her bedroom's on the back side of the house, like up against almost a mountain.
Okay.
And in the snow, she has pictures of it. Oh. In the snow, there is a foot with no shoe on. It's just a foot. And it's walked to her window, and that's it. It was one foot that walked to her window. Wow. Okay. And that was it. There was not 2 feet. There was no shoes on. You could see the toe prints. It was a human foot that walked to her window and then stopped. It wasn't no footsteps going back, going sideways, nothing. It was straight from the mountain to her window, and that's it.
But the time you saw it on the porch, a couple questions about that. You saw it. You said it had red eyes. Were the eyes glowing of their own accord, or was it like a reflective glowing, or?
No, they were glowing. They were so red. They were almost more red than a fire truck. It was just astonishing red. Okay.
All right. And then you said that it disappeared, like you saw it melt away into nothing, as if it just disapparated, yeah?
Yeah, the eyes. The only thing I could see was its eyes and its head cocked to the side and like kind of half of its body. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at it. My dad threw the door open, and I was still looking, and it kind of perked its head up a little bit and was gone. I didn't hear nothing crunch under it or nothing.
Okay, so when you say it was gone, did you get the idea that it like blinked out of existence, kind of gone, or snuck away?
Yeah,
gone?
like it blinked.
Okay, yeah, because it does. It's just one of those weird things that it doesn't fall into into any classical category that I'm familiar with, and I might be missing something as well. And I'm not implying that what you're saying isn't legitimate. Again, I don't doubt that you saw what you saw. It's just a unusual encounter because it's very unique, at least from encounters that I'm familiar with,
Yeah, and after that happened, I researched, the rake, skinwalkers, everything. And the only thing that is actually kind of near it is a skinwalker. Sure. But I don't know if we would have skinwalkers.
Yeah, I know that the skinwalker range is actually the legend of the skinwalker is usually attributed to the Navajo, but there's other tribes that are have similar stories or legends in them that are much lesser known. So it is possible that there's an Eastern version of that too. And you could be right. You could be absolutely right. But the skinwalker, being a shapeshifter, usually can look like a person, but it can look like a wolf, coyote, dog, whatever. It's a real dark thing, but Yeah, you're right. It could be some version of the Skinwalker, which may play into the story of the land a little more,
Yeah, it was so terrifying, but like when I was going after it, I felt like it could not hurt me. I had like power, like I'm immortal.
Sure.
But as soon as I stepped at the very end of the porch, it was gone. Like I felt like vulnerable. This is how I die. Oh. And I'm done for.
That's very scary. Wow. How long ago was this?
I do not walk outside the house at night now. It was probably when I was, I don't know, probably around 3 years ago.
3 years ago? Okay. So, and it still continues to show up every now and again?
Sometimes against the side of the house, you'll hear like 3 knocks.
Okay.
But we got to the point we don't pay attention to it anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
So we just don't go outside at night.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I don't think I would either, to be honest with you. But I guess it's all the unknowns, because you've got stuff going on inside the house. You got stuff going around the house. So it does almost sound like some kind of portal is there, because it's not any one thing. It's this collection of things that may be happening in your home address or in the area of your home. So it's very, very curious. But have you talked to anybody, whether it's an investigators of any kind or mediums or medicine people or whatever, or priests or anything like that? Have you crossed that bridge at all?
No, I've always wanted to, but I wouldn't know who to contact, because, some people play like one, and then there's people that's actually legit, and then there's people that charge you a fortune.
Right.
So I don't really know, but I know whoever wants to come see it, they'll probably be in for a scare. They probably won't see anything, but if they walk in the woods at night, they'll probably see something.
Okay. Wow. Well, it's an incredible series of events. Now, has anything happened since those 3 years ago, or is things still going on?
You'll hear knocks sometimes, like 3 distinct knocks. The dogs will go off about something that's not there. Just random little things.
And the apparitions still appearing, crossing the hall and stuff?
I haven't seen that thing in a long time.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so there does seem to be an evolution of events in any case, yeah?
Yeah, it's real creepy.
Yeah, it sounds real creepy. But the reason I was asking about the man is sometimes those kind of events are residual. They're like an imprint that plays itself out over and over again for whatever reasons. And so it's not intelligent generally. A residual haunt is not generally an intelligent spirit that's aware of your existence or even reacting to people around it. It just replays like recording. So, but since that doesn't continue, it could have been residual and just for whatever reason maybe ran out of energy or whatever. But it's very interesting. Yeah. And it's hard to know which is which, is the thing outside somehow related to what's inside? Are they one and the same, or what the hell's going on? It's really kind of a conundrum, isn't it?
Yeah, I will never understand what I saw. Like the things in the house, I could understand, that happens to some people. That's just normal pretty much to me. But the thing outside, I'll never get over. I think about it every day. It was terrifying.
Yeah. I think there's some things that maybe people are more ready to see than others, but I think that certainly sounds like something nobody could ever be ready to experience. It just sounds horrifying.
Yeah, it was awful. I don't want to ever see that again, because if I do, I'll probably cry this time.
I'm not chuckling because that's funny. I'm just chuckling like, yeah, I think I would be crying too,
Yeah. But sometimes around the house you'll hear kind of knocks on the door, not like the doors. Sometimes you'll hear knocks against the siding of the house, even when the wind's not blowing or anything.
Okay.
sometimes you'll get the feeling, a lot of the times you get the feeling someone's watching you.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
But I ended up getting used to that because it's every night.
Yeah. That's just your reality, yeah?
Yeah, I've gotten used to it because I live here.
Right. Yeah.
So I've learned to deal with it.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed that there's certain times of year that are more active than others?
Yeah, probably like the most active was probably around 3 years ago when I seen it on the porch.
Okay. And what time of year was that? Like spring, summer, fall?
It was in the summer.
Okay. That was summer. Okay. The reason that I bring that up is because, of course, there's a belief that the veil is thinnest around Halloween. And so that's why some activity seems to strengthen and pick up during the fall into Halloween, and a little thereafter. But, that's certainly not, exclusive. I lived in a house that seemed to be most active in the winter, more so than in the summer, but, it just depends on the house, I guess.
Yeah, it always was during the summertime.
Okay. So in the winters, it's been real quiet for you guys?
Yeah, the winter, you don't really see anything, hear anything. But when it gets like between January and maybe September,
mm-hmm.
it's like they're coming back to haunt you.
Okay.
It's just a lot of activity during those months.
That's a lot of months of activity, though, It's not just like a weekend or something. That's a big chunk of the year.
Yeah, and it's just little things besides the thing I've seen on the porch and, the man in the hallway and the little thing in the woods. But
mm-hmm.
other than that, it's like, you'll hear maybe someone on the porch. You might hear knocking,
mm-hmm.
just little things.
Okay. That's very, very interesting stuff. But whatever the case, I just, I certainly can put you in touch with some people that may be able to help. I certainly don't want you to feel like you have to live in this situation and just deal with it if it's causing pain and fear and anguish. And let me know, and I'll talk to you more via email. But yeah, I mean, there are many people out there that do help, and we have a couple that are involved with this show as wonderful friends who have volunteered their services. So it's not like it would be a charge or anything, but I think if at least you can maybe help you understand what you're dealing with, because I think the unknown is the hardest part. You just don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Ever since then, I don't see anything outside. You might hear like something maybe on the porch or against the wall, but we're always just brushed off as like maybe a raccoon or a possum or a bear.
Sure.
So we don't really pay attention to it.
Okay. Well, and maybe by and large, maybe it's moved on. That certainly happens too in the paranormal that, some hauntings are only a period of time and then it returns to normal, and others are, just a part of the property. So, but I just think there's something going on there that maybe it would be worth looking into to see what these people think you might be dealing with, and maybe help you, protect yourself and your family a little better. I guess it's the unknown again that's so unnerving. You just don't know what you're dealing with. Yeah,
it's interesting, but it's also terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely it is. I've had the experience of living in haunted houses a few times, and it can make life interesting because you just don't know if it's going to be a normal day or if things are going to be, coming off the walls. It's very
you never know what you walk into.
Right, exactly, and you don't know until it happens, and then you don't know how long it's going to be lasting. So it can be a pretty tentative existence. So we'll talk more via email, but I just really thank you for coming on and talking about your experiences, because I know it's good not only for the experiencer to discuss it, but also our listeners oftentimes respond to these kind of discussions as well, because I'll usually get emails like, oh my gosh, that really reminded me of my situation, and that'll keep the dialogue going. So, but thank you so much for being a part of the show. This is wonderful.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad someone listened and believes.
Absolutely. But thank you again, Caysee. This has been great.
All right. Thank you again. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on tonight's show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please feel free to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio, as well as finding us on Twitter. We're on Twitter at Paranormal Portal, Portl, and we'd love to have you stop by our YouTube page and subscribe and check out our shows there. We got hundreds of shows, Journeys into the Paranormal Portal, so I hope you'll check it out, guys. We're over there at youtube.com/Paranormal Portal, so hope to see you guys soon. We'll be back, of course, for more podcasts in the coming days. So we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can.